know that when the brain is in a creative mode, it has a different organizational pattern to the different regions of the brain working together. We're only at the very cusp of understanding what happens. We know that very young brains actually have some capacities that tend to be lost as we grow older. And in fact, we have a whole session today on babies' brains. So today we're going to explore how the brain creates, what happens to the brain, and how can we find perhaps ways of enhancing our creativity through understanding better how the neuroscience of creativity works.
The question my group is trying to ask is what's going on in babies' minds. So we're looking at babies in the first year. And the way we do this is we're using brain imaging to look inside the brain, not just at the anatomy, but also at the brain function. If you or I were learning a difficult motor skill, like trying to perhaps learn to tango, we would have to think through every step, and it's a really deliberate process. It seems that perhaps even babies, when they're learning to do their first learning to crawl or learning to walk, they might be doing something deliberate and intentional like that. The second application of this research is to try to understand what's going wrong in babies who have neonatal brain injury. At the moment, it's really difficult for neonatologists to know for any given infant what sorts of problems. Will that infant develop any problems, or what might they be? At the moment, the clinical standard of care is basically to wait and see what happens in development. Maybe at 3 you'll learn they have language difficulties, or at 6 they have behavioral difficulties. So if we can use imaging to understand how the brain is developing, we can potentially start to see things going off track, and hopefully that will lead to ways to get them back on track.
My own shtick on this would be that creativity involves thinking of multiple ways, multiple approaches to solve a particular problem. So the bottom line, I suppose, is that you engage the brain in many different sorts of ways in creative thought, while in analytical and single thought, you may be very efficient. You don't want a particularly creative dentist when he's trying to do a root canal. But if you're trying to solve more complex problems, the artist, you engage a different mode of thinking.
Today I was discussing the fact that art and science are really not so different. Even though in lots of people's minds they're very separate entities, but the truth is they overlap quite a lot. In more recent decades, we've discovered that artistic outputs can tell us a lot about the functioning of the brain. Yeah, I think the question of creativity is a great one, and it's brilliant that we've had this week of creative brain, because for me creativity really taps into novelty. It's combining ideas in a novel way, or looking at something with a novel perspective, or thinking about something in a way that hasn't maybe been done before. So as Manny said, this process of having a defocused state of brain, which allows these novel associations to form, is the basis of a lot of creativity, including art, including comedy, including lots of other spheres of life.
So as a visual artist, I'm very passionate about how art can be used to improve the health outcomes of different populations. I work with older adults living with dementia and other cognitive impairment. I work with young adults and youth who actually have mental health challenges. And for me, art is like a light. And naturally people gravitate towards light. And so light liberates and art does liberate. Creativity sets people free. Create opportunity for them to be able to express themselves in a way that they are not judged because of their outcome of their visual representation. The process is very key for their healing, and I see that playing out in some of the engagement we have had in Nigeria. We've seen people who actually were like inpatient in the hospital, who were part of our art programs, a part of our music program, and then the art really helped them to escape, kind of provide that way out for them. And then today they are coming back to give back to where they were once patient. So you see the impact and the relevance of art and creativity in helping to transform the lives of people, healing them, providing health for them. But most importantly, also how do I help others now that I'm helped? Which I think is very critical and very important.
So today we're here discussing creativity in the brain, and my own research focuses on memory and how memories are stored in the brain. And the flip side of learning is forgetting of information. And we often think about forgetting as a nuisance, as something that is an inevitable bug of having an imperfect brain. My research suggests, and others, that forgetting may be more of a feature, that forgetting is the letting go of information in a way that is adaptive to how you can behave in your environment. We also think that forgetting is reversible, that memories that are apparently forgotten can be retrieved in future when you need those. So I think that this is useful for understanding the neuroscience of creativity. Because if we're going to be creative, we need to not only be learning new things, but we need to be forgetting other things, and we need to be rearranging our information about the world so that we can come up with new ideas or new concepts that may be useful for doing other things.
Absolutely, it's so important for us to work outside of silos. Universities can be quite siloed. You can have, the School of Medicine over here, and you can have the arts, humanities, or creative art practice over on the other side of campus, and never the twain shall meet. And if that's true in universities, where people are interested in talking to one another and interested in co-creating knowledge, well then it's all the more so important when you think about how do we engage with social actors and other key stakeholders. So a week like this that brings everybody together, not just with a national, but with an international footprint, is phenomenal, and it's something I hope to see replicated in other parts of life.
So I think it's very important to explore the union of art and science, or art and medicine. We have to start thinking of a non-pharmacological ways, or utilizing those approaches to help people to find themselves, because sometimes people are sick because they are lost. Right? So, but art can bring them back home, and when people are back home, they are well. It's about creating that enabling platform where we can coexist and make the world a better place. The science is not superior, the art is not superior. We are all on the same level with the same goal: to help, to heal, and to bring hope.